Peace to the gods. Peace to the gods. Make sure I got everything. Everything going good. Okay. Where everybody at? Am I broadcasting? Well, yeah, this one here just picked up. That's it. Just waiting for people to come in. I see y'all come and give y'all a little bit of time to come in. I got some stuff I want to talk about today. Gonna have a real good show lined up for you today. Like the video as you come in, and make sure you share the link and hit the notification bell, hit join and hit the notification bell for all. So you get all the notifications. Whenever I go live. Do y'all think this is a good time to go live? I'm looking for me a time where I can come on every day at the same time and kind of experimenting. Why would anybody want a revocable living trust? Why in the hell would you want a revocable living trust? A revocable living trust is one of the worst trusts you can get. Why would you want to? I know there are dudes out there in those echo chambers promoting revocable living trusts and speaking about them as if they understand the trust world, but a revocable living trust is not. I mean, anything is better than nothing. I guess my question to you would be, why would you want a revocable living trust? Why? I'm reading Wise, Concise Trustee Handbook and Express Trust under the Common Law. Those are good. Those are cool, two very good documents to start with. You learn about Express Trust under the Common Law by reading Wise, Concise Trustee Handbook. The Express Trust under the Common Law by Albert, what's the attorney's name? He got commissioned by the Massachusetts Tax Commissioner to go and investigate voluntary associations. That is a very good study because it helps you understand the history of taxation as it relates to private trust. Because when Massachusetts Trust, Alfred Chandler, that's his name, guy who wrote Express Trust under the Common Law, Esquire. It lets you know they made 3 amendments after that to the IRS tax code to address private trust. So a lot of people, they like to say private trusts aren't taxed. They're idiots. At least you're taking the time to understand the history of it. So that's going to lead you into the amendments to the tax code to address them. The reason they weren't taxed, because you always have to have a statute to address an entity once it comes from the private into the public. And they didn't have one during that time. Once again, you got to understand this play on public and private to really understand it. But those are two very good. That's where I started. I started with Wise, Concise Trustee Handbook. That came to me, I think, around in 2009 or something like that, 2010. And then I read Express Trust under the Common Law around that same time, too. And that was about 15, 16 years ago. That document's been on the internet probably at least 20 years. Peace, God and goddesses. What's up? I just beat a violation of probation thanks to you. God bless you. You're welcome. You're welcome. You are welcome. But I'm waiting on somebody to tell me why they want a revocable living trust. Because the first thing came out of their mind, out of their mouth. So I'm just wondering, why do you need a revocable living trust? What's the difference? Well, what is the advantage of having a revocable living trust? Somebody explain that to me, because he said, thanks to you, brother. Reading those 2 docs helps. You're welcome. Yeah, definitely reading those 2 documents. But those are good starting places. Wise, Concise Trustee Handbook. But if you really want to learn trust, you need to get into our class and start reading case law with us. See, we get into the class and we read case law. That's our teacher. Any reputable book, whether it's Bogart's on Trust, Perry on Trust, Restatement on the Law of Trust, second edition, American Jurisprudence, or anything like that, all I'm going to refer you to case law. Everything's going to refer you, because that's the ultimate teacher of trust, is reading cases, not reading. The books are okay, but they're not going to make you a professional. Excuse me. They're not going to make you a professional. Let me see, it says Alfred Chandler. Yeah, Alfred Chandler, I think he's the author of Express Trust Under the Common Law. You know, they comparing and contrasting, you know, what they call voluntary associations, but when you get in there, the attorneys are going to make them take off that name, because voluntary associations is a statutory term. And they were trying to put it into a statutory, fit it into a statutory definition. And the attorneys wore their ass out on that point and made them see, one of the things you don't ever want a private irrevocable business trust to be construed as is a partnership or an association. And there are features that distinguish business trusts from public enemies like public corporations. One of them is not a violation of perpetuities. You know, a corporation lasts forever. You know, all trusts have termination dates. And then as well as the fact that, you know, the control mechanism on it. See, on a revocable trust, the control mechanism stays with the settler of the trust. Therefore, no liability shifts. So you could never use a revocable trust and then fit under the definition of own nothing, control everything, because it doesn't fit under that banner. A revocable trust is like a corporate soul. Why would you get one? You know, the only reason they get one is try to bypass maybe you know, probate or something like that, but it doesn't protect you from liability, because the settler maintains control and therefore retains all the liability. So no liability shifted from you with a revocable trust. So once again, my question would be, why would you get a revocable trust? I mean, a revocable living trust too. Like, people throw those names around like they're really saying something. Those are some of the weakest trusts in the trust world. Living trusts and all that, those are weak trusts. Those aren't spectacular trusts like y'all talking about. Well, yeah, and that's exactly, like, see what this lady just said? She said, with revocable living trust, I heard you don't lose control while you're alive and dead. And that is exactly what you don't want. You want to lose control. Didn't you hear me just say own nothing, control? You still got ownership. You got the liability with a revoke. That's what they're not telling you. You still have all the liability. Why would you want? You control a trust by drafting good instructions for the trustees. That's just a person, you don't know how to put together an indenture agreement. So, you know, you want to maintain control over everything. That's exactly what you don't want. But that's what they're teaching you to do, because they're keeping the tax liability on you. That's what they want it to be, right? Directly on everybody teaching you to do that. They're keeping the tax. Ask any of them. Ask them who is liable for the taxes in a revocable trust. Ask them. Ask them, where does the liability rest on a revocable trust? Just a straight up yes or no, just tell me. Does it rest with the settler of the trust or not? Yes or no. Don't let them go into no long ass, dumb ass explanation. It's not an irrevocable common law trust or express trust. An irrevocable common law trust is an express trust. What are you talking about? An express trust just means it's written. I got to educate y'all, because y'all say things that's funny, you know. But we're going to get it right today. Y'all ask all the questions about what y'all want on trust today. Ask me all the questions you want on trust, so we can get this clear right now. Ask me any question you want as it relates to trust, so we can get some clear on some things. As exactly right. You don't want the liability. You know, with a revocable trust, you got all the liability. Why? The whole object of having a trust is to own nothing and control everything. All right, like the Rockefellers when they coined that phrase. So with a revocable trust, you can't do that. You still own it. You're still deemed to be the owner of the property you put in trust. Yeah. It says, let me say, thank you, brother, reading those two documents. I appreciate the $1.99. I thank you so much. You know what? I'm going to say this. People get their questions asked first is the ones that got colorful boxes. If you pop up with a colorful box, I will answer your question. It takes priority. So I appreciate that. Which trust is best? It's not no which trust is best. See, that's another thing that y'all think. Y'all act as if trust. Well, I mean, the king of all trusts is an irrevocable trust, irrevocable business trust. That's the king of all trusts, but it's not a best because no two trusts are exactly the same. No two trusts are exactly the same. You know, you have categories. You have revocable, irrevocable. You have implied trust. You have express trust. You have resulted trust. You have constructive trust. You know, you have different categories of trust that serve different purposes. But a trust is a right solely enforceable in equity. They're all creatures of equity. It just depends on what it is that you're trying to achieve. If you just want to hold some property in it, well, you're going to do a holding trust. If you want to make some money with it, well, you're going to use a business trust. They all serve different functions. So it's not like which is the best one. It's what are you trying to do with it? And then what type of property are you putting into the trust? And what are you planning on doing with it? Ain't really no such thing as the best. Yeah, we the people are, yeah, you're more powerful than that, but so what? You know, when people make statements like that, what are you saying, that you can do anything that you want? Why don't you just say that? Don't try to cover what you're trying to say, like we the people are more powerful than plutocracy or perdition. No, say what you really want to say. Say we can do whatever we want to do. Why don't you say that? Don't try to use that little fancy language to cover up what your real thoughts are. What are you really trying to say? Are you really trying to say you can do whatever you want to do and that nobody in government can exercise any authority over you at any time whatsoever? Why don't you say that? Why don't you expose yourself for the Marxist, communist, socialist, anti-government? You know, why don't you go and show who you really are? Go and put it in language so we can go on and really have a real discussion. We all know that the people in America are sovereign, but that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want to do, because we have constitutions. We have state and federal constitutions. The public, they have a delegation of authority. So what are you trying to say? What is that? That statement don't mean shit because we have a constitution. Don't mean shit. That statement only means something if you got a contract. That's your superpower. If you ain't got a contract, you can't enforce shit you're saying right there. Not a fucking thing. It's just a damn statement. It says revocable trust is good to transfer property with a mortgage into a trust, having everything. It does not. Why would you transfer? Let me ask you a question. What's the purpose of transferring a house with a mortgage on it into a trust? For what? For what? He said revocable trust is good to transfer property with a mortgage into a trust. However, having the irrevocable will be the beneficiary of revoke. What is the benefit of transferring a property with a mortgage on it into a trust? I'm just interested in why you would even do that. Because we're mentored, don't even put no houses in a trust with a mortgage on it. That's how I was mentored. You don't even put that in a trust. For what? It has an encumbrance on it. Why would you put it in a trust? For what? Business trust, how would one structure them to remove liability? What are you talking about? How would you structure it to remove liability if it's irrevocable? It's irrevocable. Irrevocable means that you can't get it back. And when you can't get it back, you don't own it. Ownership is liability. When there's nothing in the indenture agreement that evidences that you are exercising any control over the trust corpus, over the trustees, or in any kind of way still connected with the trust, that's how you remove liability. And that's usually on the tenor of the indenture agreement that regulates the trust and regulates the trustees. Let's see, true be true. I'm trying to figure out why you need to put a house in a with a mortgage on it in a revocable trust. What for what? Give me some type of reason. Why are you doing that? For what? 'Cause I can't think of a reason to do it. I can't think of any good reason to put a house with a mortgage on it in an irrevocable trust. It's not what type of trust it's called a holding trust. That's what it's called. It's called a holding trust. All right. And I would put it in an irrevocable trust. Yes, I would. I would. I'm not even looking at anything called revocable trust or living trust at all. I don't even teach any of that at SBC University. I don't teach nothing about that. That's the domain of attorneys. I teach private trust law. How private trusts are supposed to operate. There's a way you're doing it if you're going to be private, if to be considered private, but those aren't considered private. It says, what type of trust will hold property safely? That is to my inheritance. All my accounts have been seized. Seized? And states have taken all from me. I can't keep property that's given to me. How you keep property safe in a trust is by drafting an indenture agreement correctly and learning proper trust administration. It's not a piece of paper that's going to protect it. Trust administration is what protects a trust, not the piece of paper that you buy. You know, somebody brought to my trust class an individual, an attorney had prepared a trust. I think he paid like $10,000 or $15,000 for the trust. Something that I see pretty much all the time. However, it did have some few little different customized aspects to it that I like, that the attorney had drafted up. You know, but it comes down to the administration of it, what you want to do. If y'all would come to class, you would understand that. But see, the problem is y'all want somebody on an hour YouTube to explain to you about trust when it's a subject that you got to learn over about 10 months. You're not learning anything about trust watching YouTube videos. I can absolutely promise you that. And you're going to learn, you're just going to get an introduction by reading Carlton Weiss Express Trust Under the Common Law and Weiss Concise Trustee Handbook. And those are just like introductory type material. You're not going to learn this subject doing any of those things. I'm trying to sit there and tell you. You're not going to understand trust. You got to learn termination of a trust. You got to understand, you know, the fiduciary role of a trustee. He might be cooked already. No, I don't know if he cooked. I mean, I don't know what the situation is. You know, the thing about it is that too many people out there, they're just selling y'all pieces of paper. You know, they put on a marketing campaign on TikTok, on YouTube, front like they experts in this particular field. I can listen to them and see that they're not. They're not experts. Applying for a trust and investment admin job. Okay, how do you apply for a trust? I don't understand how you apply for the trust. You create a trust. You don't apply for a trust. What do you mean apply for a trust? A trust is an agreement. You don't apply for it. I can sit here and make a trust right now, and I don't have to apply for a trust. I get on ChatGPT and make a trust instrument. You don't have to apply for a trust. It said, what do you recommend, brother? Armed with the wireless Weiss and Express Trust docs got me to start. Weiss Concise Trustee Handbook is a good place to start. That's where I started. It's probably the best free information you're going to get on the internet. But if I had to tell you to start somewhere and you're still trying to do something for free, get you an American jurisprudence and read all the case law that's in there. That's what we're doing. There's only two ways to learn trust. Have a good mentor, read a lot of case law. Don't let nobody tell you nothing else different. Don't let nobody tell you anything else different. There's only two ways. And really, even with the mentor, you still need to read the case law because your mentor going to miss things. It's too much to know. You want to be real rounded in the subject. For instance, if you want to talk about testamentary trust, and the creation of an implied trust, you want to understand how that process goes. You want to know about termination of a trust because beneficiaries will try to terminate trust early. Do they have that power to do that? what needs to be present in order for them to do that? And if it's not present, what happens? What kind of liability falls on the trustees? Can you shift liability from the trustees over to the corpus with an exculpatory clause? What is a spendthrift clause? What is a spendthrift trust? All these different things, these are all different types of trusts that serve different purposes. So the thing about it is that all trusts have to realize the intent of the settler. So when you go, the equity of their whole role is to make sure the purpose of the trust is fulfilled. That's it. Best way to learn anything is by doing. That is true. Yeah, but you're going to read the case law. I mean, you got to learn. You got to study first. You just can't put together a trust. You don't fucking know what you're doing. This ain't going to work. You're going to have to spend about 8-9 months studying it and then going to put it into practice. But you're not going to just, if people out there are leading you to believe that, let me tell you something, 99% of the people on the internet using the word trust, none of them know nothing about it. That's in this space. Like it's on TikTok, and anybody letting it come out of their mouth, I ain't seen anybody really knows what they're talking about. Not one person. I see a lot of people that use the word, sesticate, trust. They don't even know what that word means. You know what I'm saying? It's like I see it all the time, but nah. Let's see, it says, yeah, but I don't know how you apply for a trust. I mean, you applying for a trust? Nah, you don't apply for a trust. You create a trust. I ain't never heard of apply for a trust. Let's see. Right. I don't know. What you asked me? What, right? Somebody tell me, why would you put a trust? Why would you put a house with a mortgage on it in a trust? Somebody explain it to me. What's the purpose? What is the purpose of putting a house with a mortgage on it inside of a trust? You're applying for, are you saying you're applying for a job as a trustee? Is that what you're saying? That you're applying for a job as a trustee? Is that what you're saying? I don't understand. He said, no, applying for a job for a trust. I don't know what that means. Are you saying you're trying to be a trustee, a manager of a trust? What do you mean? What role are you playing as it relates to the trust is what I'm trying to figure out, because the trust has designated roles. You have trustees, you have managers, you have beneficiaries, you have trust protectors. I'm trying to figure out what role you're trying to play. Do you know anything someone can read to be a good trustee? Yeah, you can come take my entire course on my internet, my 22 days of trust. I mean, it's not free on the internet. I didn't never let it go free on the internet. But yeah, it's a trust administration. It's called successful management. Administration of a trust is definitely important. Administration of a trust, essentially, if you're going to administrate a private trust, you got to understand how to maintain privacy. You got to understand the tax laws, and you got to understand contracts. It says, do you know anything? It says to protect debtor, the only reason to put the mortgage in the trust, I don't protect the debtor. How is that protecting the debtor? How is that? That's not doing shit. Putting a house in a trust does absolutely nothing to the lien, not a damn thing. That's why I'm asking that question. It's a setup. Like I know one of y'all gonna try to say that dumb shit. That, oh, I could put it in but I don't offer any protection whatsoever. Not none. Not none. Matter of fact, all you might do is trigger a due on sale clause, some type of acceleration clause within the mortgage and everything. You know what you're doing, but that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do that. That didn't do that. More like junior fiduciary administration role. Okay, so this is what I want you to study right here since you want to be a trustee. This is why I want you to study. As a trustee, if you want to do what you're talking about doing, you need to know this word right here. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. You need to know what that word right there means. Look it up. Punctilious of an excellence most sincere. The punctilious of an excellence most sincere. The punctilious of an excellence most sincere. You need to understand what that word means. They'll be impressed if you do. If you understand what that word means and you bring that to their attention, that you know what that word means, you might get somewhere since you're applying for the job. If you let them know you know what that word right there means. And you ought to read the case law that it comes from, too. We read the case law in our class because I want my students to actually have read the case where that derives from. But if you want to be a trustee or any type of fiduciary role in any capacity whatsoever, you should be familiar with that word. Punctilious of an honor, most excellent, sincere. Punctilious of an honor, most excellent. I think it's the punctilious of an honor, most excellent. No, it's punctilious of an excellence, most sincere. Is it punctilious of an honor? Yeah, it's punctilious. Yeah, punctilious of an excellence, most sincere. Punctilious of an excellent, most sincere. Yeah, I got it right. Look that word up, punctilious. Punk. Punctilious of the honor most sincere. Yeah, that's it. Punctilious of the honor most sensitive. Punctilious of an honor most sensitive. That's it. What I put in there? Punctilious of an, did I put the wrong word? Let me see if I put the wrong word in there. I want to make sure I didn't give you the wrong word. No, this is it right here. It's not that. It's this word right here. Punctilious of an honor the most sensitive. Punctilious of an honor the most sensitive. Let me read it to you. Punctilious of an honor the most sensitive is a famous legal standard established by Justice Benjamin Cardozo in Meinhard versus Salmon in 1928, requiring fiduciaries to uphold a level of honesty, loyalty, and integrity far stricter than the morals of the marketplace. It demands undivided loyalty, full disclosure, and complete avoidance of conflicts of interest. That's another thing. You can't get involved in self-dealing. You have to make all your transactions arm's length. Understand what that is. But understand what that word is. Punctilious of an honor most sensitive. I'll be getting it mixed up sometime. The punctilio of an honor the most sensitive. I love that word. The punctilio of an honor the most sensitive. That is a word that everybody who is a fiduciary or a trustee should know. You should know what that word means. If I just wanted to be a little more private and get my name off of things, how do I get around the jurisdictional issue? First of all, you don't get around anything. See, that's what's, I'm glad you asked that question. That's what's wrong with all of y'all in this space. You all got this mindset of you trying to get around and get around something. Why are you thinking like that? Why is it that everything that you're trying to do, you're trying to get around something or figure a way to get around something? Why don't you just follow the procedure and do what needs to be done? Why is that your mindset? Because you know that's like a criminal mindset. It's like you got a criminal mind, because I've been in the crime world. So you have the same kind of mindset as dudes who hustle. You constantly looking for a way to try to get around something, or or out of something, even the verbiage that you use, instead of trying to find. That's why you're not successful in anything, because what you're looking for don't exist. There are no shortcuts. You can't get out of their jurisdiction. You got to learn how to operate within their jurisdiction. when you come into the public. There's no way you're going to get totally 100% out of the jurisdiction because you live in the United States. And just you being here gives them jurisdiction over you in some capacity to a certain extent. Now, whether you are subject to statutes is another thing, but you're not totally absolved from being out of the jurisdiction of the United States government, because as soon as you kill someone or do something that violate a public law, they come in to get your ass, regardless of what you claim your status is. Now, if anybody's telling you anything different, they ain't been locked up yet. They ain't been locked up yet. Thanks, Al. Started on the university. My question is, the rest of the 9 Hague countries, will there be, what you ask me that for? Listen to this dude right here. Are you asking me about birth certificate authentication? This is what tripped me out. He started saying that he's on my SPC University. Where is it anywhere on SPC University do you see anything talking about non-Hague conventions or birth certificate authentication? Where is that at? When I've been telling you for 7 years straight that that's some bullshit. I even put a video on here, finally the truth about Minnesota Rule of Practice 220. Why are you asking me that question? I've been noticing, I've been getting, like I had somebody called me for a consultation. They start asking me questions about shit I don't even teach. And I'm like, I say, dude must don't know me and everything. I'll be like, what the fuck you asking me that? I don't teach that bullshit. Why are you asking me that shit? See, you know what that shows me? It shows me you're really not a member of SPC University, or you really don't follow me and you really don't know what I teach. You only think you know what I teach. You don't really know. You need to do proper due diligence before you come and ask me a question. Here, let me put the video to answer your question about the Hague Convention. Let me put this on here. Here, you can watch this.
Well, now that we found out,
and that'll be answer all your questions about the Hague Convention. You ain't got to give me no money and nothing like that. There it is right there in the chat. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 is the contract clause. That mentions obligation of contracts as a starting point. It is the reason the trust is necessary. Okay, now, if you're going to quote Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, let's say it the correct way. They can make no law that will impair the obligation of contracts. That doesn't make a trust necessary, okay? It just means that if you operate through contracts, they can't interfere. Now, a business trust is a business cast into the form of a contract. And yes, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 is the umbrella clause that protects almost the entire private world. But there are 5 others also. Freedom of association is one, due process. All of these are constitutional mechanisms that protect the private to keep the public from encroaching in on the private. All because of force, treat back in the, I don't know what that is. True, I didn't mean, no, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, it's like, well, I don't mean any offense either. I'm just telling you what it is. You know, I don't teach that. You know, it's like, why are you asking me that? It says revocable avoids probate and is protected under GAM at Saint Germain, which doesn't trigger due on sale, as well as allow for dependents to be joint tenants and common. But how is that benefiting you? Because it still has if you foreclose on it, I understand, how's that benefiting? It has a mortgage on it. As soon as you go into foreclosure, they're taking it. I don't understand. You know, it has an encumbrance on it. You can't take it out of the person's name. You're talking about it protect. No, it still have an encumbrance on it. Are you trying to say there's no encumbrance? You're trying to say that you shifted title of that property out of your name into the name of a trust, and what? And what? If it avoids probate, okay, big deal. So what? All trusts do. All trusts do. So what's the point? I don't understand the point. There's no liability shift or anything like that. You're not making no money with it. I mean, What do you do? I don't understand the point of doing it. Just to avoid probate? Okay, yeah, that. I have what would be a so-called mortgage in the trust, but the agreement was signed between the trust and I, more of a secured loan in my case. What, you did a owner finance to yourself? Is that what you're saying? I mean, if you did an owner finance to yourself, that can be used like as a asset protection strategy. You know, I know about that. If that's what you did, you deal contracts. No, anybody who's dealing with trust is dealing with contracts. Anybody who's dealing with trust is dealing in private trust is dealing in contract. Everybody. It's a creature contract. I mean, let me put it like this. When you get Weiss Concise Trustee Handbook, go to the back and you'll see all the contracts that you have to know in order to administer your trust. You can do that right now. Get Weiss Concise Trustee Handbook. Go to the back of it. There are all your contracts that you have to utilize to operate your trust with. They're right there in the back of the document. Okay, then, brother, you just heard you mention foreign address, and if you can get one, is a good thing. Well, I mean, if you want to authenticate your birth certificate, but what you authenticate, I don't teach authentication of the birth certificate. I mean, I don't know, you know. Or you talking about what's your 98 number? Well, yeah, I mean, but my question to you is the IRS don't verify any addresses. I mean, they don't verify addresses, man. I mean, y'all trip. It ain't like they like, yo, let's stop for a second. We're going to verify this address that you just gave us to make sure it's accurate. Y'all got to catch on, man. I shouldn't even have to say some of this stuff I shouldn't even have to say. I think of that 50 Cent song when he said, nigga, you can't read between the lines, dumb nigga. You can't read between the motherfucking lines. They can't fucking check none of the shit you giving them. They trick. All they doing is seeing is you gonna say the wrong dumb shit on the phone. I don't know, you know. Punctilio of an honor, the most sensitive. Punctilio of an honor, the most sensitive. The punctilio of an honor, the most sensitive. That is, if you're gonna be a trustee, you should know that word. Put it in your chat GPT and tell chat GPT to write you an article on that word. So you can get the full meaning of it. Because you need to be very familiar with, this is what separates a trust from everything else, the high level of fiduciary duty that is accorded to the trustee. And that word right there embodies it. So you should be familiar with that. I have what would be a so-called more, okay, I read that. Okay, then, brother, just heard you mention a phone. Okay, I just read that. Let's see. I'm fully aware that I have to work within the procedure. I will do so. It's just that I don't want to have to subject myself to every single statute. Okay, well, yeah, there are things first thing you do is stop subjecting yourself to unnecessary benefits and privileges in. You know, that's on you. You want to do it, that's you. You. But some stuff you're not going to totally be able to get out of, like operating a motor vehicle. You're never going to get around anything doing that because that's a public safety issue. So if that's what y'all leaning toward, that's not going to happen. And see, I'm going to keep on saying this because this go back almost 100 years, ever since the automobile has been created. And none of the case law that y'all pull up substantiate any of the things that you're saying. And then y'all get mad at me talking about I'm pivoting and shit. No, you don't read. All you're saying to me is, I didn't read the case. I don't understand it. I was totally dependent on you to explain it to me, Yusuf. I didn't read the shit for myself. All you saying to me is that right there. It said, thanks for helping me see the Matrix. You're welcome. I see it said, I don't know where is 1919? I don't know what you mean. Where is 1919? I don't even know what you're talking about. People don't realize that everything is in the public is public benefit. I try to explain it. Listen, I've said this from day one. The main problem in this space, no one understands the difference between public and private. They claim they private, but then they feel like it's just the reason they don't know because they think that they can declare privacy without adjusting their conduct or putting a structure in place to live privately. That's the issue. They think they can just declare it and then keep operating their life, be in an automobile, have their kids still in school, go to the grocery store, have credit, and think they can do all the things that they were already doing, have bank accounts, all this shit, but now they private. It's the most ridiculous shit. It's gone so far off the rails, I have to come out and talk now because I'm from the old school. I got to at least try to put everybody back on track because it's just ridiculous shit that's going on right. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Y'all ain't studying the law. Y'all not studying no law. Y'all not studying the law. Y'all miss me with that shit. AI does that nowadays. AI has been running the Supreme Court since 20. First of all, let me clear up something for you. AI does not run the Supreme Court. AI doesn't run anything. When you make a statement like that, everybody who operates with AI knows that you know absolutely nothing about AI. Would you please take the time to study AI and how it operates so y'all can stop making ignorant statements like that? Y'all thinking it's some type of machine somewhere that's taking over the world or something. That's not what AI is. Hey, I'm going to tell you what AI will do for you. Let's say we're experimenting with this thing. We're trying to find out that the civil nature of the legislative jurisdiction, okay? Because y'all keep saying that it's admiralty. What you're really trying to find out whether or not it's civil or not, because the jurisdiction of admiralty is civil, and they used to use the machinery of the civil to punish crimes with, and they did that under admiralty. All right, the reason civil, because that's where debtors' prisons come from. All right, this is why we're trying to find out the jurisdiction, not to challenge it, to find out what jurisdiction they're operating under, because you're supposed to be accepting it for value because there isn't any money. All right, that's the real issue that all of you have gotten away from, is that the commercial nature, but you're trying to resist it instead of working with it or working within it. That's your problem and why you're losing so much. Y'all done started this culture of resistance. And that's not how it was. It was acceptance for, what do you think acceptance for value was? There's a book written by Byron Beers. You should read it. It is What Does Acceptance for Value Mean? You should really take the time to read that because Byron Beers is very sophisticated. Most people don't read it because it's not an easy read. So what AI has shown, I'm going to tell you what AI has shown. AI is separating. This is what AI has done. AI is revealing all the fake gurus. You're a fake guru because if you don't really have the knowledge, AI is going to expose you now. And that's what the guys don't like. If you're a fake guru, if you've been getting by faking it, you really don't have the knowledge, but you done got some type of little skill where you can kind of finagle the people. They don't really know anything in the first place. You all get it. You're not the type of person to read case law. You don't understand principles of law. You just taking processes from years ago, taking it and refurbishing it and putting it back out. You're going to get exposed. That's why you don't like AI, because the people who are really intelligent understand the benefit of AI, because now I can take clerk's praxis and take maybe something like OCGA Title 18 and put them together and let AI analyze both of them, and it'll come back and tell me, yes, they borrowed the procedural mechanisms from admiralty. That's the power of AI, because you're not going to sit there and take 6 weeks to read the clerk's praxis. You're not going to do it. You're not going to fucking do it. I did it. I read it. Okay, so when I say admiralty, I can look inside creditor and debtor law and see admiralty because I studied the subject. Okay, if you haven't studied the subject, you just going in there and saying this is the admiralty jurisdiction. You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. And now with AI is here, you're going to get exposed. That's what you don't like. The niggas who really put in the work in doing it. We not getting exposed. We know how to use AI to make us even stronger. It helps us analyze information. You think it's Google. This nigga think they created another Google. Nigga, this shit is not Google, nigga. You gotta train your AI. You have to feed it information so it can analyze. It analyzes information. That's what they mean when they say prompt. You have to give it the right prompts. That's what they're talking about, prompts. This nigga, AI, everything you should talk about now, he respond with AI responses. AI took, we listen ignorant nigga. That's all we thinking, like, God damn. It is exposed, it had made the line wider now, because if you're not intelligent, it's a reflection of your intelligence. If you don't know how to, if you're not well read, you're going to get exposed. There is no way for you to use AI and you're not a reader and talk and be in this space. You're going to get exposed very quickly. Very quickly. A tribal license, a tribal identification card, that don't mean anything. I mean, all the tribes are conquered people. You want me to give you the case law on it where they tell you? That's something else. Y'all talk about these tribes like they mean something. They ain't mean anything. That's why they got them on reservations. Your sovereignty is subject to the sovereignty of the United States. That's what it says. Your sovereignty is subject to the sovereignty of the United States. Everybody who got them tribal IDs, y'all trying to flex like that's giving you some sort of, I don't know what it is that you're trying to say. Like you are immune from something. That don't mean anything. I haven't seen anything in law to substantiate any type of claims that y'all make regarding that. And if you got them, bring them to me. Let me see them. I had a judge tell me it's constitutional jurisdiction and laugh when she said it. I see what's up now. I mean, the jurisdictional question is an honest question. When you go in there, what you're trying to find out is if it's civil or not. The civil thing is what they're trying to hide. You got something called, damn, I can't think of it right now. I think of it in a second. But they'll try to tell you that there's a difference between criminal and civil, but there are actions that are civil that are criminal in nature, and that's where they borrowed it from. They borrowed it from admiralty. See, the admiralty jurisdiction, they can't call it admiralty because the Constitution did not delegate them admiralty jurisdiction to them. So they borrowed and adopted the features of it and incorporated it into this statutory jurisdiction because admiralty is very good at commerce. Common law is not. Common law is too slow for commerce. So that's why they're not operating under the common law within their statutory jurisdiction, which is commercial in nature. They're using a colorable admiralty jurisdiction. Colorable means it looks like. They borrowed the mechanisms from it, but it's not called admiralty. They're essentially correct saying it's a statutory jurisdiction. The only reason you're pressing them is saying, well, I'm trying to find if it's civil or criminal, because you ask them that, and again, he says, is this a civil or criminal action? And they say, well, it's a criminal action. It's called a penal action. Let me read a penal action to you. I'm going to put it on the screen for you. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it on the screen for you so y'all can see it. I'll put it on the screen for you. Let me put it on the screen real quick. Where is it at? Where is it at? Okay, yeah, give me a window. All right, so here's SBC University. You come in SBC University. All right, well, this is the academy right here. All right, so this is your dashboard. Here are download materials. These are materials that we actually use in class. You know, like we're working on a trust right now. We call it the Lex Ferry Trust. We're putting together a trust right now. We're drawing it up from scratch from reading case law. We got right to travel versus DUI, 14th Amendment protection. You know, last night we went over the language trap is real good, you know, knowing what words not to use. But also, you have your, over here, you have your courses. These are all the courses in here. I got to add some courses on here that we did, but these are the classes where your recording of all the classes are at, right here. Yes, they are all recorded.
The government is corrupt. If you've never read the...
All right, so those are recorded, and we got a lot of them. We also have templates that are available. I'm adding a lot of templates into the back office. I got a lot of videos on here, a lot of videos. But let's go to the, we got a PDF reading room too, but these are dictionaries, these are legal dictionaries that are on there. And let me, I'm trying to find out penal action. Let's look at this real quick. Where are the P's? Right here. What just happened? All right, so, oops. All right, so this Black Star Dictionary. So we go over here to penal action. You know what? It's not under here. It's under action. I'm tripping. Let me go. It's not under penal action. I'm sorry. It's in action. Let me go back to the dictionaries. It's under action. It's not, I pulled out the P's. Wait, where is this? FODML. Where's A? Right here, AS. Okay, so, all right, so we go there, we just Control F, put in penal action. To take, oh, wait a minute, I spelled it wrong. Penal action. All right, you see it in here by 8. There you go, right here. So it took me right to it. All right, so penal action, a criminal prosecution. Okay, that's the first sense of the word. Here's the second sense. A civil proceeding in which either a state or common informer sues to recover a penalty from a defendant who has violated a statute. Although civil in nature, a penal action resembles a criminal proceeding because the result of a successful action is a monetary penalty intended like a fine to punish the defendant. Let's read the history of this. At one time, it was a frequent practice when it was desired to repress some type of conduct thought to be harmful, to do so by the machinery of the civil rather than of the criminal law. The means so chosen was called a penal action, as being brought for the recovery of a penalty. And it might be brought according to the wording of the particular statute creating the penal action, either by the Attorney General on behalf of the state or by a common informer on his own account. A common informer was anyone who should first sue the offender for the penalty. Penal actions are still possible in a few cases, and their existence, listen to what he say, their existence renders invalid several suggested distinctions between civil and wrongs and crimes. So when an attorney, if you're an attorney out there trying to constantly keep telling me that there is a difference between civil and criminal, then explain this to me. And what this man just said, Glanville L. Williams, in his 10th edition in 1947, that by the very existence of penal actions, that renders that invalid, what you just said. And that's why we're asking the question. That's why you're asking the question. We're starting off, is this a civil or criminal action? They're going to say it's a criminal action. Thank you, Anna. Let the record reflect that the action being brought against the defendant is a criminal action. Now, I have another question. The Constitution for the United States of America only grants this court 2 criminal jurisdictions. One is a criminal jurisdiction under the common law, and the other is a criminal jurisdiction that constitutes a condition of contract under criminal aspects of a colorable admiralty jurisdiction. Now, sir, for the record, would you please tell myself and this court, for the record, under which two of these jurisdictions you're trying this criminal action? Okay, the reason that you're asking that question is to find out if it's civil or criminal, because you're going to attempt to do a discharge. You may have to come back to that because they're going to say, well, it seems like you think this is a civil proceeding. Okay, well, you know what, sir? You may be right. I may be absolutely wrong on that point because you're saying this is criminal and I thought it was civil. So I need some clarification. Okay, now the Sixth Amendment for the Constitution of the United States of America grants me the right to know the nature and cause of this action. So what I'm seeking, Your Honor, is the nature of the action, not the cause of action. I know what the indictment alleges, what's enumerated on the indictment. That's not what I'm asking. What I'm trying to attempt to find out, just like if you're going to hold me in contempt, there's a civil contempt and a criminal contempt. All right? Let's look at that real quick. Let's look at contempt. So telling me I'm in contempt, and I've done this to judges, they say, I'm going to hold you in contempt. And as soon as they say that, they say, well, that be civil or criminal contempt, and see what they say. They probably have an answer for you now because they watch my channel all the time now. Let me pull this up. So if I go to contempt, Control F, contempt, or contumacious conduct, contumacious contumacy, contempt. It appeared here 90 times. Let me see, can we get to it? Contempt. See right here, contumacy, contumacious conduct right here. See how much I be in the law dictionary. Contumacious conduct, that's an admiralty word. That's what they use in admiralty, contumacy. Or contumacious, a willful disobedience of a court order, contumacy. All right, so we got contempt. That's what we're looking for, contempt. Right here, contempt. All right, so we go down here. You got criminal. Let me see, I'm trying to see non-assertive conduct, evidence, non-verbal, passive conduct. Let me see if I can find it in there. Civil contempt. Let me see if it's in here somewhere. Yeah, see civil contempt, see civil contempt, see contempt. All right, so it's under contempt. But I didn't see it. Where's contempt? Contempt. ST. Contempt. Contempt. It's in here 90 times. Contempt. Is this it? But injuries, committed personal pride. This process was called capious respondum. That's something else. Contempt. Contumacy, common law. Disruptive, disorder, non-assertive conduct. Consequential contempt. I don't see it. It said look under contempt. I don't see it though. Maybe I went too fast. Hold on. Maybe I went too fast. Contempt. Okay, outrageous conduct. It says non-assertive conduct, evidence, nonverbal behavior that is not intended to be a statement such as, is that, no, it says see contempt. I'm tripping, man. That ain't contempt. I'm tripping. No wonder I'm tripping. Man. Let me get out of here. Okay. Okay, right here. Contempt, the act or state of despising, the condition of being despised, conduct that defies the authority or dignity of the court or legislature, which is what y'all be doing when y'all go in there and doing all that stuff, acting a fool in the court. Because such conduct interferes with the administration of justice, it is punishable usually by a fine or imprisonment. Also see contempt of court, judicial contempt. Also see contumacy. Contempt is the disregard or disobedience to the rules or orders of the legislative or judicial body, or an interruption of its proceedings by disorderly behavior or insolent language. In its presence or so near thereto to disturb the proceedings or to impair the respect due to such a body. Civil contempt, the failure to obey a court order that was issued for another party's benefit. A civil contempt proceeding is coercive or remedial in nature. The usual sanction is to confine the contemnor until he or she complies with the court order. The act or failure to act complained of must be within the defendant's power to perform, and the contempt order must state how the contempt may be purged. Imprisonment for civil contempt is indefinite and for a term that lasts until the defendant complies with the decree. Now, that means they can keep you in jail forever, but like in some states, I think like in Georgia, they put a statutory cap on it like of 6 months. Keep you in the jail up to 6 months for contempt. And then you got criminal contempt, an act that obstructs justice or attacks the integrity of the court. A criminal contempt proceeding is punitive in nature. The purpose of criminal contempt proceeding is to punish repeated or aggravated failure to comply with a court order. All the protections of criminal law and procedure apply, and the commitment must be for a definite period of time. So when a judge says to me, okay, I'm going to hold you in contempt, is that going to be civil or criminal is an appropriate response, because that's not telling me anything. You're just telling me you're going to put me in contempt. What is the nature of the contempt? So sitting there saying that I've been charged with a crime is not telling me the nature of the crime, because there are civil crimes and criminal crimes, but the nature of it. What is this thing that you calling criminal? We got a criminal action in admiralty, and we got a criminal action in common law. The one in admiralty is civil in nature. I'm not trying to find out if it's an admiralty jurisdiction. I'm trying to find out if it's civil. Check. Let me ask y'all a question. Y'all having trouble hearing me? I don't see why. Let me see. Everything's, y'all can't having trouble hearing me. Y'all having trouble hearing me? Where is this thing at? Let me put this back. Let me put this back on me. Let me put this back on me. Y'all having trouble hearing me? Somebody said, I have the volume all the way up and I can barely hear him. Maybe you ought to turn all the volume up on your machine, you know. Let's see, that's better. All right, so outcome so far I've been studying for the last year. Let's keep together. All right, I have the volume. Okay, so, and that's where the public law doctrine comes in and why they try to use it against you. Okay, well, let me just say this. All right, so the contempt, the nature of the action, as we were talking about earlier, that's why you're asking that question. You know, you're trying to find out the true nature of the action because you're trying to find out. This is why you think you asking them about bonds and all that shit, because that's to address the civil nature of it. Why are you talking about tax forms and all that shit? Why do you think you're talking about all that? It must be civil in nature. You know, that's the reason you're asking. You know, it's like, duh, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what it just got off track. The reason it got off track is ain't nobody from the old school around. Everybody got arrested. Everybody gone. All y'all got a lot of new school people introducing y'all to information that they didn't even understand 100% themselves. Because it takes time to learn this information. You got to be at this every day. It's not no thing that you could just come in, be a weekend warrior, and have a good understanding of how it go. That's not how it's gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna get off. Ain't nobody making no donations, so I'm gonna have to go. Shit. I had to go, man. Y'all complain about stuff. Where the donations at? Damn, y'all have no appreciation for nothing I'm saying or nothing like that? Wow, you know. How much I got in donation? Let me see how much I got. Let me see how much I got. How much I got? I got like, what, $9? Let's see. Let's see. It's a 3 and 5, no layer. That's what I was saying before, because forced treaty back in the day. I don't know what forced treaty is. What do you mean forced treaty? Ain't nobody forcing you to do anything. I love AI, but you have to give complete thoughts. You do have to give complete thoughts. I give it complete thoughts. I treat my AI like a human being. I talk to it just like it's a human being. I don't even worry about prompts or nothing like that. I give it complete thoughts, and it gives me complete thoughts back. Man, my AI, man, let me tell you something. Man, I got the $200 a month one. I don't even feel bad about that at all. Not at all. That shit is like cheap to me. I'm like, shh. It's like cheap. I paid $200 for it, and it's like cheap. That shit's cheap. From what it can do, the value that I receive from it, man, come on. You tripping. I appreciate the $4.99. You don't want a question with that? You didn't have a question with it? Have a question for him? Well, y'all say y'all can't hear, y'all messed it up for everyone. They do that to mess with me. You got to understand, man, it just be some people, man. They just, you got to get, I got to get used to it, because it's like, you're never going to, there's always going to be trolls. And going to be trolling you in a variety of different ways. The thing about it is what's good about doing radio for so many years, radio is the theater of the mind. And I used to have a call-in show on radio. And so radio, you don't know what the person looks like or anything like that. You can't see their facial expressions. All the energy that you get on the phone, you receive through inflections in their voice, or, it's just energy. You learn how to read energy, doing radio. It's real nice. I appreciate the 5 bones. I appreciate that. He said, how do you feel about the sworn sheriff being questioned under penalty of perjury on or there 3 branches of government? I don't have a problem. What is he being sworn? What is he being sworn to under penalty of perjury? I mean, everybody in the public has to take an oath of office. I don't know what that question means. You had to clarify. He said, didn't know that there was 3 branches of government. Well, who are you talking about? You just saying something. What are you talking about? You talking about there was the sheriff didn't know there were 3 branches of government? I mean, that's concerning, but I'm going to be honest, he doesn't have to know. All he has to do is know how to follow procedure. I mean, that would be unusual for somebody not to know, but all he's required is follow procedure. Can you do a review of federal Indian boarding school initiative? I already did and gave you the report. You asked me that question down in the comment on another video, and I already did it and gave you a complete report on it. So you can go over there and read it. You already asked me that question in the comment section, and I responded to it. Thank you for the $10. I listen while I drive, but his audio is so low that even my volume turned all the way up, it's hard to hear what he's saying. Let me see something. Okay. Question in the comment section. Okay, I'm listening myself. Thank you for the $10. I listen while I drive, but his audio is so low that even my volume turned all the way up. I'm sitting there listening to me on my live, and shit loud as hell, man. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Nobody else is having a problem. What's your thoughts on having a sacred trust? My thoughts is the name don't mean shit. What is a sacred trust? That doesn't mean shit to me. Calling it a sacred trust means absolutely positively nothing to me. Nothing. I don't care about the name, because you can call a trust whatever you want to, because one of the things about trust, you can mold a trust into any form you want. So y'all come with these little names and shit and try to fool people to make they think you got some type of special kind of trust. But the character of a trust is in the indenture agreement, not the name. The name don't mean shit. Because you could have drafted that shit as some bullshit. For all I know, that means nothing to me. That means, I see all them little ecclesiastical trust, sacred trust, all that bullshit y'all throwing around out there don't mean shit by a lot of people who don't know shit about trust. I'm telling you, you don't. And daring you to try to prove me wrong, because I'm going to bust your ass. I'm dare you to. It said he was going somewhere with jurisdiction. He started with the goal was to see how much police did or did not know. I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't say nothing about, they kind of people be misquoting you. How much the police did or did not know. Ain't nobody said no shit like, we talking about the court. What are you talking about, the police? What are you saying? It's maybe their personal service is loud. Okay, I don't know. Try to turn your phone all the way volume up. I mean, you know, everybody else say it's okay. I'm listening to myself right here. Shit, I can hear myself. They must be messing with my listening. Okay. My bad, hardware. Okay. If you listen to a few of his past recent streams, the audio is very low. I don't know. The audio is nice. I listened to a past stream. The audio was fine. I don't know what you're talking about. I did the audio on my phone. It was a live stream. Which AI using? ChatGPT? I got an offline AI too. I got three. I bought 3 offline AIs. I'm testing them right now. Offline AIs you got to really train because they don't have access to the internet. So that's not what you want. See, this is what they don't understand. You're not using AI for information. You're using AI because it's an analytical tool. It analyzes information according to your instruction. And then it gives you results based off of, however like for instance, when I first started with SBC University, me and my AI, the prime directive I gave to my AI, I said, eliminate everything that I can't use in court. I said, eliminate everything I can't use in court. So that was the prime directive because AI on ChatGPT only deal with public issues. It doesn't deal with anything private. It deals with public, the public. So if you're going to use it for the public, that's what it analyzes statutes, it analyzes case law, it analyzes all that shit. That's what it's for. So why would I use it for anything private? You get you an offline AI to do that. I'm giving up too much game. Let me stop. I'm giving up too much game. Y'all had to come to SBC University. I can't even talk about that no more. I gotta leave these niggas to stay where they are because they still talking about AI giving them wrong answers. AI lying to us. You see what that machine lying to us? It lies, Yusuf. See, I went over here to this other person who listened to this other person, and they said AI be lying. We sitting there looking at this. Did I lie? It don't tell you the truth. I'm like, okay, you don't know how to use it, okay? You're getting back answers. And a lot of times it's just not giving them an answer they want to hear. They don't like the answer they get, and that's really what it is. They don't like the answer they get. Well, yeah, you can misconstrue. You ask your AI if it can misconstrue a misconstrue fact. Well, you can do whatever you want, but can it do it? Nah, you can do whatever you want it to do. If you direct it to misconstrue facts, it will misconstrue facts. It'll do whatever you want it to do. But why would you want to do that? Well, where are you getting it for? I mean, to tell a lie, you don't need an AI to tell a lie. If you want to misconstrue facts, you can do that without AI. You don't need AI to misconstrue facts. A fact is something that can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. It means that it can be substantiated and verified. So you a goddamn fool anyway if you believe everything it's telling you didn't substantiate it. See, like y'all keep saying it's giving wrong information. I ain't heard not one of y'all say that it's interpreted any of those right to travel cases incorrectly. You know why you haven't done that? Because ain't none of you motherfuckers read any of the cases. So you don't know whether or not it's giving you the right answer or not. Because you ain't even read the case.
So you can't say if it's giving you a right answer or not if you don't know the answer. Just saying. You don't know the answer. Y'all motherfuckers ain't read them cases. Y'all, that's what just got exposed on a big, that's what y'all don't like. A big group of you got exposed for using that case law, and we just see that you just showed the whole world none of you motherfuckers read any of that case law. That's what we just saw. That's what I mean about getting exposed. You're getting exposed. You got to review. You ain't read shit. But you want to say, oh, it's giving wrong answer. That's your defense. You try to make a defense because you look like a fool. Say, oh, it's giving wrong information. No, I didn't give wrong information because that's why I read the cases. I don't need AI to read a case. I know I've been reading a case for 20 years. I know how to read a case and understand what's being said. I read cases every day. That shit ain't saying, none of them cases are saying any of the things y'all talking about. None of them. None of them. Now they coming into my Facebook group looking to get some get back. So what is this transmitting utility? Now they all want to come in. Now they want to come in a secure party group and talk about secure party shit. I turned that motherfucking group off. I like, motherfucking group, man, you bring your ass over here on YouTube and ask me some questions, nigga. You help me make some money. That's, yeah, why don't you do that? Help me make some money. Come on, you want to ask me a question? Come over on YouTube and ask me a question. Come on my live and ask me a question. Why don't you do that? Because y'all niggas like free shit. You want to find out what a UCC 3 is for, UCC 1? You can join SBC University. It's $99 for a month. We have 16 classes a month. You come over there right now. Pay $99. I'll show you, tell you whatever you want to know. Show you everything. I got you. SBC University. And look at it. It's a state-of-the-art website. I got to start this money thing, though. I got to start paying y'all some money. I know that's what people are waiting for. Now, let me show y'all something real quick. Okay, because I got people, they come in, yeah, I've been a member for 90 years, and I don't know how to get to the web to the webinars. I said, okay. All right. Okay, so the webinars are right here, man. When you log in, you're going to be your dashboard. Your dashboard, this is the commission you're getting on the website. I'm going to talk about that at a future date. I ain't going to talk about that on YouTube. You want to learn about that, come in. But all this right here is dealing with your commission structure, payout, e-wallet, all of this stuff right here. Your tools, you got a replicating website that you're going to use, but everything, and you got a content management board too to keep track of all your referrals and things like that. But the academy is where a lot of stuff is. We have a news section where we make announcements of upcoming events. We have a frequently asked questions section. We have a academy dashboard, keeps track of, you know, if you take any, you know, this is just my member. I don't use it because I'm an admin. But you have, when you take a course, it keeps track of your grades on all your courses and things of that nature. We got the template, dictionaries, your PDF reading room. This right here, I'm adding different things to it because I took a lot of stuff off, but this is where you'll find a lot of content. These American jurisprudence right here, which is real good. Self-development, law reviews. I'm putting a lot of law reviews in here. That's a real good. We do law of attraction. You got your trust case law. Now, these are the cases that we actually read in class. Langford versus Shaw, Goldwater versus Altman, Hooper versus C. Dunbar. This was a good one, Hooper and Dunbar. Marissi versus the commissioner. Everybody should have read that one. Heck versus Malley. Both of these like staple case laws. If you're going to claim to be some sort of expert, you should be familiar with Heck versus Malley and Marissi versus the commissioner. The matter of Cosman, J.S. Ashworth. But this right here, so last day we were studying termination of trust. This is a Claflin and Claflin case. That right there is a very good case. That's a landmark case that goes into the termination of a trust. We also have trust merger doctrine. Reading about that, Meinhard versus Pitts. That was a very, very good case. Mons versus Pitts. And then we had, what else we have? There's Mark Hopkins and Sheriff Hopkins. I think this was a testamentary trust case, if I remember correctly. What we're going to be doing on this next class is we're going to be talking about trust protectors tonight. Did I already pull out the case law for that? I don't think I pulled out the loaded it up with the case law yet. Then, I have an esoteric folder, obviously, that has like, a million documents in it. And I got some other stuff too that I'm adding. I'm just slowly adding stuff back on there, but it's a lot of reference material. But if you want to get to the webinars, you go down to Academy and you click on webinars. And then you simply click on the webinar you want to attend. We got Private Trust Series, join. Esoteric Sundays, join. Ultimate Status Correction, join. That's all you need to do. Log in, come down here, click on your Academy, click on webinars, and then click on the button and join, and you're in the webinars. That's simple. Simple. Real simple. Somebody asked, I don't have an LLM. I don't know what you mean, LLM. Learn language model? Do I use to train and conduct your research? I upload documents. I don't need any of that. I don't use any of that. I just communicate with it. I upload the materials that I wanted to analyze, and then I give it its directions. I don't use a learn. I think that's what you're saying, LLM, learn language model. I'm not that sophisticated with it. I just understand what it does, and I know what it does accurately. And that is, I use all my materials. See, I don't even use prompts. I don't need to use prompts. I don't need to use a prompt. You need to speak in a specific way and cogently and clearly to get what you want from it. I will say on SPC University is very professional and speaks to his students, clients with respect. He's very adamant and about enlightening and educating the correct way. I appreciate that. I treat my students with a high degree of respect because I actually have respect for all of you. And actually when we're in class, I just, when just conversating with you, y'all an intelligent group of people. Y'all an intelligent group of people. I'm really, let me tell you something. If nobody ever signed up to my university again, I would still keep teaching class, all of you, for the next couple of years, because that's how much I enjoy my class and my students that I have, because they all have their own little different personalities. Some are a little bit more outspoken than the others, but there's always new people coming. And, and then they got their little positions. They help me, like Azita, she's going to look up, find something. If I forget about something, she's going to locate it. I got another gentleman in there. He doesn't remember. He remembers every damn thing I say. Everything I say, and he keeps me on my toes. And that's good, because I do consider myself to keep a high level of integrity. I'd like to think that I do. And I do know my subject matter. I hope I demonstrate that. I think all my students would agree with that they can see that I'm very well read in this particular subject. And, but I learn too. That's one of the beautiful things about class, too, because sometimes we'll just read a case law. I haven't even read it yet. Sometimes I'll just pull it up, and I'm going to read it for the first time with the class. I'll run it through ChatGPT. What I'll do is I'll run the case through ChatGPT, and I'll give you an example of what I do right now. I'm going to show you what I do. I'm going to show you exactly what I do. All right. Let's say I'm going to show you exactly what I do. All right, so what is this? Let me see, get on here real quick. All right, this is Google Scholar. All right, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click on case law. Let me get this where I can see, so I can see what y'all are doing too. Hold on for a second. I won't miss y'all. Okay, there you go. Wait a minute, where is it at? All right, so this right here, this Google Scholar. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna put in, let's say, like right here, I put in trust protector. All right, trust protector. All right, so I'm gonna go through these cases. I'm gonna say, okay, I got a case tonight I want to teach you on. So let's see. Sheldon Trust subject matter jurisdiction cannot now close the door to the protector or to the trust deed. That look interesting. Let me see. Memorandum or on September 28, 1976, plaintiff Francis D. Sheldon, a settler, created a trust to be governed by the law of the British Virgin Islands known as the Francis D. Sheldon Revocable Inter Vivos Trust, living trust. The trust deed established that all the income from the trust would be distributed for the benefit of the settler during his lifetime. All right, so he's getting all the distributions. I don't see any type of shift in liability right now. It's a revocable trust. Upon his death, the deed provided for the payment of monies and the distribution of assets of the trust to numerous beneficiaries. The property held in trust involves personal and real property of substantial value. The Trust Company of the Virgin Islands, Limited of Totola, British Virgin Islands, was appointed to act as trustee. Article 4.2 of the trust deed also provides that the settler could, by written instrument delivered to the trustee, designate a protector of the trust who would have authority to perform. Okay, this look interesting. So what I'll do is I'm gonna take this right here. I'm just gonna copy it. And then I'm gonna put it in ChatGPT. I'm gonna put it in ChatGPT. And I'm gonna tell it to, I'm gonna give it an instruction. I'm gonna say, oh shit, hold on. Let me change this window real quick. I found this case, so let me change this window. All right, so this ChatGPT. So here the case law I had right here. So I'm gonna say, I'll tell this, I'll say, break down this case. I'll say, break down this case. Oops, so let me cap it. Break down this case. It knows what I mean when I say break down. When I say break down, it knows I say break down this case and extract all of the equitable principles used by the judge to give his opinion. I do that. Oh, wait a minute. Did I put the case up? I didn't put, yeah. Wait a minute. Okay, I forgot to put the case in there. Let me put the case. Let me post the case number. That's the case right there. All right. So I gave him the case. It's going to find the case. Citation refers to the federal district court case, United States versus Freeman. Let me make sure. Was that United States versus Freeman? No, that's not it. Let me see. No, that's not it. Let me see. Let me do it like this. Let me just copy it all. Let me copy this caption right here. I don't think you got the right case. So I'm gonna say that's not what I wanted. Break down this case. Break it down. Break this down with principles. Equitable principles. Okay, and I'm on. Then I'm going to, I'll just post that right there. Let's see if we find that. Okay. Is Sheldon versus Trust Company, Virgin Islands, okay. This case is valuable for trust law instruction because the court addressed control, fiduciary duties, trust administration, and equitable remedies when disputes arise between settler, trustee, and trust protector. Below is a structured breakdown focusing specifically on the equitable doctrines the judge relied on. Case breakdown. Core facts. Francis D. Sheldon created a revocable inter vivos trust. The trust was administered by a trust company of the Virgin Islands. Adam Starchild served as trustee director associated with the trust administration. L. Bennett Young acted as trust protector, a supervisory role over the trustee. A dispute arose on how the trust was administered and controlled, leading the settler and protector to sue the trustee and associate parties. Primary legal issue, whether the trustee and related parties breached fiduciary obligations or exceeded authority in administering the trust. Holding, the court evaluated evaluated the structure of the trust and the conduct of the parties, applying traditional equitable trust principles governing. All right, so here are the equitable principles used by the court. These are the things that you got to study. Fiduciary duty to the trustee. Here it is. A trustee holds legal title, but must administer the trust solely for the benefit of beneficiaries. No self-dealing, obviously. Here, equity regards the trustee as fiduciary, not the owner. That is true. Equity regards the beneficiary as the true owner. However, all the liability does rest on the trustee because he has legal title. Now, that liability can shift over to the trust corpus if you put an exculpatory clause in the indenture agreement. However, that does not shield him from self-dealing or any type of fraud that he may commit. Equity enforces the intent of the settler. Remember, I told you the purpose of the trust is always what's going to be served. So these are all principles. This is what you learn. This is what's going to take you 10 months to learn. One of the most fun, the intention of the settler controls the administration of a trust. The federal court stepped into, this an equity supervises fiduciaries? It does. Good faith administration. Trustees must act in good faith and with honest judgment. Punctilious of an honor most sensitive. Punctilious of an honor most sensitive. Equity would not permit self-dealing. I just told you about that, self-dealing. I didn't need to read the case to understand that. Equity protects beneficial interests, obviously. Equity allows judicial interpretation of trust instruments. Well, yeah, if you bring it into a trust is a right solely enforceable in equity. The judge is going to read the indenture agreement, then they're going to look at the trust minutes to see if the trustees did what they were supposed to do. Equitable remedies are flexible. Equity provides remedies beyond simple damages. The court considered these remedies depending on whether misconduct occurred. And then it breaks that, man, this thing breaks down all of this for me. And I just take this and I use it. If I decide I want to talk about that case or not, if it's an interesting case. That is an interesting case, though, because I'm talking about trust protectors right now. So tonight's class is on trust protectors. So we actually read the case, and then we discuss the case, and this is how you learn different aspects of trust. You learn what are the duties of a trust protector? What are the duties of a trustee? What is the difference between a revocable and irrevocable trust? What is a exculpatory clause? What is a spendthrift clause? What is a spendthrift trust? What is a testamentary trust? All these things you learn when you study this subject. When does a tax liability stop? What is tax avoidance and tax evasion as it relates to trust? What is a sham trust? What is a true economic purpose? What does that mean if you're dealing with business with the trust? What is self-dealing with a trustee? What is arm's length transactions? All these things you got to know, and then how you learn them, really learn them, is not by reading a book. It is by reading the cases where the book learned from. All these books y'all reading, they all learn from cases too. So why not just go to the source? Why would you go to a secondhand reading to learn trust? Why not just read the case, go directly to the horse's mouth? Just a question. He said, I believe after 7 years watching on YouTube, you're the #1 on knowledge in years. I've seen you blast every single person trying to say you were wrong about any subject you speak on. I mean, I'm not trying to blast them. Listen, the only thing, I'm going to tell you why I can blast them. It's not that I'm so much more intelligent or anything like that. It's not that at all. It's that they don't know the fundamentals. They didn't take time to learn the basics. They don't think the basics are important. They just want to get straight to whatever it is that they're trying to take care of. They don't, and then they will not acknowledge that the study of law is some year-long study. There is no possible way y'all gonna teach these people to do something like in a week or two. That's just somebody trying to make some money off of you. I'm just being honest. You got to start with the fundamentals to any of this. Then you got to have a respect for law. If you don't have any respect for the law, you're going around with this idea in your head that you can do anything you want. You're nothing but an anarchist. That's not, there is no evidence at any time period. And I was looking at William Blackstone commentaries this morning and last night because the structure of law was created by William Blackstone. That's what they teach in Harvard University. This structure of person, capacity, classification, rights and duties and remedies. Okay, that whole entire structure of law falls within that framework. And that goes all the way back to William Blackstone commentaries. As a matter of fact, when you open the book, the very first chapter is the law of the person. And it's going to explain that to you, classification of rights and duties and things of that nature. So the first thing you want to do is understand the structure of law. You need to understand how the Constitution operates. You need to know the 7 principles of the Constitution. You really need to know separation of powers. That's one of the most important principles in the Constitution to understand. Separation of powers, delegation of powers doctrine, plenary powers doctrine. Understand what clauses affords you privacy in the Constitution. Like you could go to ChatGPT. I go right now, I can say, what clauses in the Constitution afford protection for private ordering? Private ordering, the ability of individuals to structure their own affairs through contracts, associations, and property arrangements. It's not named explicitly in the Constitution. However, several constitutional provisions protect the legal space in which private ordering operates. Courts have repeatedly relied on these provisions when disputes arise involving contracts, trusts, private associations, and property rights. But they all have the primary constitutional clauses that protect the freedom of individuals to organize their affairs privately. The Contract Clause, Article 1, Section 10. The Due Process Clause, like I said earlier, the 5th Amendment. The Takings Clause, 5th Amendment. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation and due process of law. Freedom of association, I mentioned that earlier. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or the right of people to peacefully assemble. That's freedom of association. The 9th Amendment, enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. The 10th Amendment, the powers not delegated to the United States are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. These are the clauses in the Constitution that protect our space that we operate in. Those are the ones you got to learn, and you got to learn how to use them. If you want to be private, but you can't walk around just saying I can do whatever I want to do. That's not how it works. That's not how it works, you know. That's not how it works. You know, let me tell you something. If somebody who's saying that, they probably, no offense, but a dude probably lived in a, I don't know, he wasn't anybody. I ain't gonna say that. Let me see. More people need to learn how to use AI models, ChatGPT and Grok, better to get specific info they need. Is new to all of us. It is. That's the problem. See, it take a little while to learn how to use ChatGPT. And a person that don't like to take time, you see, they don't like to sit down and learn and read law. You think they're gonna take time to learn, sit down? It take a little time to learn. It's a learning curve on it. I was intimidated by it a little bit. A girl showed me how to use it, and she was making that motherfucker dance. She did something to it and made it print up something for me. And I was like, oh my God. And that's what that got me all the way into it when she showed me how it worked. But at first, she tried to show me how it worked a couple of times. And as a matter of fact, I think I signed up for it and kept it for about a month or two and didn't even use it because I didn't really understand it. But then I started understanding how it worked. And I was like, oh shit. Damn. And that's why I came out and I said, that age of y'all making up shit and like y'all doing shit like y'all don't read the cases and shit, y'all throwing case, that shit is over with. You see how fast I just broke down that case? Now that don't take the place of learning the print. You still got to learn this shit because see, you can learn how the pieces move, but you still got to learn how to play the game. ChatGPT will show you what the pieces are and how they move, but it ain't gonna show you how to play, how to be an expert in the game. You got to learn that on your own. But the thing is that that's how fast that broke down that case. That broke down the case in less than 20 seconds. Give me the principles based off of what I asked it to do. Because see, I knew that law is based off principles of law. I want to know what principles are being used. That's what you want to study. Because principles are few, methods are many. And principles don't ever change. Do I need to change the trust link this week? Okay, I'll change it. Is it over with? Is the trust link over? Let me see if it expired. You know, my links only last a month. Oh, I need to put a new link in? Okay, I'll put a new link in today. It'll be a link in. Let me put this link in. Yeah, I'll put it in right after I get off. I definitely gonna put that in. I don't play, listen, you don't even have to worry about the trust class because I don't play about my trust class. I do not play about my trust class. You see, I missed one day for status correction. I ain't missed a single day on trust. I ain't missing no trust class. I'm not missing that. That's a beautiful, that's a very, very interesting subject. It is and you know what? It's wide open because there's not a lot of people who are real good at it. You got a lot of frauds and people, right now in this space right here, most of the people are frauds. They're all frauds. They ain't no experts in this subject. He said, only one God according to Isaiah 30, before me no God was formed, and after me there has been none. There is only one true God. Well, yeah, there is. There's only one power in the universe, but that don't mean you're not a God, because in the Bible, they don't use the word God. They use the word Elohim, and that's a plural word. That's why it says, let us. Okay, there's only one God. Why is it saying, let us create man in our image and after our likeness? Why do you have in 1 Timothy 15, what is that, 5:7, where it said there are three that bear witness, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and these three are one? You know that verse is not in any Bible prior to the 15th century. You do understand that God, this God you talking about, is only one God. In Genesis 3:22, he did say, look, the man has become as one of us. You were something called a man and became something called one of us. And then he echoes that in Psalms 82:6. Have I not said that ye are gods? And all of you, see, this person right here is the Antichrist. They will put these verses in there, and then you show them what Jesus said in John 10:34. Is it not written in your law? I say you are gods, and this demon will come right on here and try to say there's only one God. Because you don't like the fact I say peace to the gods. And it's right there in this Bible. You the Antichrist. Let me show you who you are. Let's go to Matthew 24, verse 5. I want y'all to read this. These people right here. Matthew 20, you don't even want to go down. Let's go to Matthew chapter 24. Let's read this real quick. I want y'all to see who these people are. Matthew 24, verse 5. It talks about these people. This was prophesied. This was prophesied. There was a prophecy about these people. I'm trying to tell you, they all around. Jesus talked about them. He said, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They don't, he said, teaching the doctrines of men. Teaching the doctrines of men. Right here, 24:5, for many shall come in my name, saying I am Christ, and deceive many. Jesus did not warn us about Muslims. Jesus did not warn us about Jews. Jesus warned us. He said the first people you need to be watching out for are these people claiming to come in my name. That's what he said. He was nailed to the cross, and that's in Matthew 27:46, when Jesus said, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which Eli is Aramaic. They've been interpreted as, my God, why have you forsaken me? But here's the question. They stole that story out of Psalms 22:1. Same exact story. Starts out, my God, why have you forsaken me? But that's David getting crucified. That's written in 460 BCE, before the Christian era, before any prophecies about a Christ. Right there in Psalms 22. Match it up. Read all of 22 and see that they broke his bones. They were gambling for his garments and everything. That same exact story in 22:1 is over there in Matthew 20. They stole it. Matthew was written in the year 47 AD. Man, don't get me started on y'all. Y'all ain't no real Christians. You are not no real. I can bomb on every one of you right now, claiming that you are a follower of Christ. I will tear you to smithereens. What you need to do is shut up, because you don't want to see me bring to bear the full force on you fake ass Christians. Please, Dom, I'm giving you a break. You need to leave me alone, stay out of my chat, because I know that better than this. Man, why are you talking about the Indians? The Vedics ain't the oldest information on the planet. The oldest languages on the planet is cuneiform and hieroglyphics. Y'all do anything y'all can to avoid Egypt because it's black people. All right? All that shit from the Vedics, it came from Egypt. Everybody came from me. All of them sat under the foot of Tahuti. That's why you see all this Egyptian symbology and all your money when you go in all of these Masonic lodges and Rosicrucian lodges and all that. Everybody give reference to Egypt. But y'all don't like to do that because y'all got to give reference to black people, because that's a black civilization. Ham means of the dark mud of the ground. The Hamites, the Mithraim, that's who the Egyptians say real name, because Egypt is not even their name. That's a Greek term the Greeks came up with. Chancellor Williams, Destruction of Black Civilization. Go and get my man Anthony Browder, Now Valley Civilizations. Ashar Kwesi. Let's get a discussion now, because I've been over there. I touched the walls. I've been in Giza. I see the lies. I see the cover up. Y'all don't want to give black people no credit for nothing. They don't want to give black people. We didn't create nothing. Even though we can get Herodotus, who's a Greek historian, and right there in his writings, he said the Egyptians are black. He said we got everything from the Egyptians. All the Greek gods, all the Roman gods. The Romans got their gods from the Greeks, and the Greeks got their gods from the Egyptians. That's why their pantheons all line up. Y'all don't want to admit that, though. Y'all want to open that up. Let's talk about where'd you get it from? One of the gods is right here trying to teach you right now. They sent me down here to get y'all Christians back on check. Y'all want to listen. They sent one of the gods down here to teach you. You don't want to listen. You want to do something. Intelligence said, that says that intelligence was so sharp thousands of years ago, man did not have writing up until roughly 10,000 years ago when Dave complied the That's bull. Listen, man, how you gonna sit here and say this? A Sanskrit is third in line. It is an argument over hieroglyphics and cuneiform, which is Sumerian, and then comes them. They third in line. So that's some bullshit what you saying. And when you read the Vedas, the Upanishad and the Bhagavad Gita, and their stories, they claim they came from another planet. Man, listen, whatever. If you want to take that Hindu stuff and run with it, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. All right, you're not older than Egypt. Egypt been here older. It's the oldest civilization, the oldest languages on the planet. Any scholar will tell you that. Any scholar will tell you that. You just saying some shit because you just want to say it. You know, any scholar will tell you that. It said when Jesus was nailed to the cross, he cried out. Yeah, he cried out. It said it was anticipated humanity would degrade and forget. Yeah, that's why when you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, he said he'll come back. He said, I'll come back and strike the earth with a curse. He also talked about reptilians that need blood to come into this dimension in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. They talk about it. The Anunnaki, they claim they came from another planet. And they came down here, they found a man who they call a Lulu Amalu that happens to be translated as black-head beans and Monodapo, Africa. In a garden, and they talk about the garden in Eden. They talk about garden in Eden. So what? You lived in the temple for years. I've been in the order for almost 30. I don't give a damn you lived in a temple. That don't mean shit to me. What, that means something? You say you lived in a temple and you have some sort of biased interpretation of history because the people in your temple gave it to you? What does that mean? I'm sitting here listening to you and you just been making that statement. Just shows me you don't reason and ration well. Did they not tell you how to reason? Did you not get taught right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding? I mean, that don't even make no sense what you just said. I lived in the temple. Y'all always saying that shit like that means something. I don't give a fuck you lived in a temple. You either have the truth or you don't. We lived in a temple. Everybody is using, let me tell you something, bro. This go for your temple people at your temple too. I hope they listening. Everybody on planet Earth is using the same laws. I just got like in Maya, like when you get the definition, the Vedic, the interpretation of Maya, which is illusion. Okay, it's talking about the impermanence of reality, that it's always constantly in a state of flux. That comes directly out of the Egyptian Kabbalion. Same thing. All right? You say Brahma, we say undifferentiated. In Greek, they say, what is it, Rome, they say chaos. Everybody's talking about the same thing using different words. So I don't give a fuck if you lived in a temple. We all got the same laws that we utilize, homeboy. And all the different schools of thought are just teaching those same laws in various different ways. They're universal. And if you've been in a temple, you know that. Or if you don't know that, your temple ain't worth the toilet paper. If you don't know that. Okay, well, I understand the concept of Maya quite well, too. I know what illusion, it means the impermanence. The only reality is the substantial reality, which is the origin, which in your school of thought would be Brahma. In Egyptian, it would be the all, or the undifferentiated. How something comes from nothing, but something could never really come from nothing, so the nothing must be something, but we don't know what it is. Not even the people in your temple do. You just know what it does, like electricity. You don't know what electricity is, but you know what it does. You don't know what spirit is, but you know what it does. And that's what we're all studying. We're studying natural laws to understand how to make them bend to our will. Self-perfection of man. So because the fact you've been in a temple, I'm not impressed. There are plenty of temples on the planet. Or orders all over the place. So what? That shit sounds impressive to somebody else. They don't impress me. See, he's coming with this. I don't study the Hindus. I mean, I'm not saying they're wrong. They're good, but they're not the original. They're not the original. Come on, man. You tripping. They're not the original. Tahuti, everybody came to the feet of Tahuti and learned all this stuff. Even the people in India. Even the people in India, all right? That's why you see that's why you see that pyramid there. That we can construct those temples you got in India. Can't nobody construct Giza. They don't know how they built it. And if you put all the land masses together, it's at the center. And it's estimated to be millions of years old. Do you know there is a face on Mars? Let me give y'all something. It's called the face on Mars. The author's name is Richard Hoagland. Y'all know the pyramids on Mars? Y'all talking about there's pyramids everywhere. Y'all ought to read it. Richard Hoagland's The Face on Mars. Y'all ought to read it. Yeah, it's Amazon. Here's a link to Amazon. Put it for you in link. You can read. You ought to read it. Educate yourself. We even got pyramids on Mars, homeboy. We put some pyramids on Mars. Been here a long time. Y'all come from like what? The Hindus, they come from like Sirius A or Sirius B. You come from a different galaxy. Y'all come from a different galaxy. It said the Enuma Elish gives clues about how the face of Mars got there. Yeah, it does. It's called the 7 Tablets of Creation. The Enuma Elish, the Atrahasis, the descent of Tammuz and Ishtar, the Gilgamesh epics. The swarthy brown people of the original. I don't care where you derive it. Listen, I mean this. Everybody on planet Earth, no matter if they're a high adept, okay, they all understand the same laws. I mean, you impressing this dude in the chat. Man, you're impressive. You're not impressing me. Some of the swarthy brown people are the original people. Okay, whatever you say. Here's the thing about it though. You can get every color from melanin, but we can make every race on the planet. I mean, that's just true. We can make every race on the planet. Melanin processes sunlight. The 22 Days of Trust course, when you get a membership, you got access to all of that. You got access to all of that. You know, it's back there. There's different courses back there. You want to do the 22 days, you can. You want to do the unincorporated business trust, you can. If you want to watch some old secured party creditor videos, you can. If you want to attend a status correction class, you can. I'm trying to add some more classes to it too. You sharing some insight on what? Okay, let me put it like here. Here's the insight. You can't argue with the fact that the universe is mental. You can't argue with the fact that there's a correspondence related to thought and vibrational frequencies, which is the third principle. You can't argue with the fact that everything in creation has 2 sides, which is polarity, which is this one we get into when we get into I'll think of it in a second. You can't dispute the fact that there's a rhythm to everything. You can't dispute the fact that everything in creation is composed of the same thing. When you break it down to the molecular structure, it's just this different molecular arrangement that gives it different textures, colors, sounds, and the things that we deal with. You cannot dispute the fact that there is a yin and yang, or there is what is called a masculine and feminine gender. You can't dispute the fact that cause and effect. I already know that you learned that in the temple. I don't have to be a member of your temple to know that all of those principles you study. I don't need to be in there because that's how everybody's operating off of those. That's why they call it the key, the master key. If you wrapped up in a school of thought and you think it's better than somebody else, that's just telling me that you're not an advanced adept. You're not an adept, that's for sure. You couldn't possibly be an adept. Well, that's what I just told you. It is found in one place. We all under the same umbrella. There's only one power. There's not 2 powers in the universe. There's only one. The elite call it the knowledge of the absolute, but we're all dealing with vibrational frequencies. And the mind is the master of all vibrational frequencies. So your school of thought just might have a different way of teaching how to access those principles in a different way, but it doesn't make it any better or anything like that. It doesn't make it better just because you were in a temple. That don't mean anything to me. There are people outside the temple just as knowledgeable as anyone in the temple. Trust me on that. There are people outside the temple just as knowledgeable as everybody in the temple. And let me put it like this, everybody on planet Earth, there are people that have evolved as way past anybody here on planet Earth. We're talking about glasses and a chain. I mean, I'm not looking to impress anybody. Man, if you're impressed by glasses and a chain, I don't know what to tell you. Just because somebody put a necklace on. You know how long I had this necklace? I had this necklace about, I've had this necklace about 7, 8 years. I don't even wear it a lot of time. Wisdom have built a house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. That's Proverbs 9:1. See, that's what I'm saying. Everybody's talking about the principles. Everybody uses them. Everybody uses them. They just got different methodologies. That's what remember I was telling you earlier about law, learn the principles. The principles are few, methods are many. What he is talking about is a methodology. I'm talking about the principles, the universal principles, the universal laws that govern everything in creation. Your school of thought, I mean, there are many different schools. I can go to the Sufi branch of Islam. They got some cold-blooded dudes over there under the Sufis. They got I read some cold-blooded Sufi information. You have the Kabbalah of the Jews. You have Christian Science. In all of those areas, you got some people that are adepts. You got some adepts in each branch. I already know they share similar it's not that they are similar concepts. All the concepts, you just said there's one. Okay, if there's one, that means there's only one laws. Ain't no multitude of laws. There's no 2 different creators. There's one source of everything. You either know the laws of the source or you don't. You find those laws in nature. The founding fathers, they were deists. The deists, that's another people, that's what they studied. Laws of nature. You're just talking about the laws of nature. Witches, they study it. Satanists, they study it. Witches and warlocks, they study it. Everybody has to use the laws. The laws, you can use them for the benefit of mankind or you can use it against mankind, but there are rules. One of the major rules is free will. You cannot infringe on somebody's free will or you will, invoke karma. Because the universe favors balancement. Everything is balancement. I already know. I know. I mean, y'all got the same thing. I'm not saying that you're wrong. You know, all the different schools of thought. When you do comparative religious study, I'm going to advise you to do that so you don't get caught up in just one system. That's what that's what's wrong with all the religious people. They get caught up in one religion. When religion is supposed to be like high school. You graduate out of high school, and then you go to college. And then you go get your doctorate and things like that. But they all get stuck in high school with their religion, and they don't advance any further. You know, Jesus here He's Lord and Savior, you know, and they don't even listen to nothing that Jesus was teaching, because if they actually listened to what Jesus was saying, that would spur them on higher, because he's trying to show them how to walk on water, how to heal people, how to do all things he do. He said, all these things I do, you can do and more. He tells you that. He said, the things that I do, you can do and even more. Let's pull this up. The things I do, what is that? John 14:12, verily, truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I'm going to the Father. That's John 14:12. He's sitting there telling you, you can do the same thing. Y'all don't want to hear that, though. You want to worship. And then you get mad when somebody come along and say, look, Jesus didn't come here to tell you to worship him. All right, but you want to worship Jesus. What it is Jesus was in here to be an example. He's an example. You're supposed to follow his example. All right, that's what it is. He's showing you the pathway to perfection. I gave up arguing the differences and started pointing out the similarity. That's what you're supposed to be talking about anyway. There's similarities in all the religions. That's where the truth is. The lies and the differences are man-made. All the differences in the religion are man-made. All the similarities will let you know they all come from one same source. Jesus said, all over be like me, you are You are me. Thank you. It says, where is the karma from then holding us captive against our will? You ain't been held against your will. You a victim. You know what's going to be held against your will? That statement right there, that thought that you have that you think somebody's holding you against your will. You're not being held against your will. You just have a weak will, or you're not exercising your will. Because if you understood the power you possess, you would never make a statement like that. Ain't nobody holding you captive. That's the problem. That's why I don't like Marxism, socialism, or communism, because those are victim mentality. What that means is that you keep looking outside yourself for answers. That's the problem. Nobody's doing anything to you. Nobody's doing anything to you. You're doing it to yourself. You're self-sabotaging yourself by how you choose to think. You don't understand that thoughts become things. That thoughts are vibrational frequencies that emit out into the universe and redound back to you in like kind. You don't believe that. But even though Jesus says it in Mark 11:22-26, he said, if you tell this mountain to be cast into the ocean, but do not doubt it in your heart, but believe the things that you have said as if it has happened, because that's the power of now, because yesterday doesn't exist, tomorrow doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is the eternal now, the great I am. But you don't choose to think. You choose to indulge in worry and regret and fear and doubt. You ever meet a woman, and every woman you meet who talks about her ex-boyfriend, it's always that nigga was the problem. You ain't gonna never meet one woman in your life that when you meet her, she gonna take accountability and say, you know what, my last relationship, I'm the problem. That's what a lot of you niggas are like. Y'all like females. You have no accountability or responsibility, which in my opinion is a lack of masculinity. Because you were raised by women. You act just like them. Always on some victim blame shit. Always, just like Adam in the garden. The woman you gave me, you in that gene and shit. Hey, she did it, God. It wasn't my fault. You gave it. You can take some accountability. I'm not what? I'm not, okay, he said, thank you. How we get into some religious talk? By definition, isn't black the absence of color? No, black is the absence, white is the absence of color. Black is the compilation of all colors. Get you a crayon box and put all the colors in one spot and watch and see when you get through all the colors, you're gonna have black. You ain't gonna say black is the absence of color. No, white is the absence of color. That's why it's cool. Black is hot because you have all those vibrational frequencies emitted in it. That's why I tell you to wear white on a hot day. I try to make black negative. God lived in black before anything, because then he said, let there be light. So if God said, let there be light, didn't God live in the black void before creation? Order out of chaos. They can't argue with that. I want to see how they're going to argue with that. Let me see how they argue with that. Let me see. I never seen a black person or a white person in my life. I mean, those are just terms. What we talking about, we talking about melanin. But those are just terms people use, you know. Y'all, the one use it, y'all try to demonize the word. Devil's food, cake, Black Friday, you know, everything, you know, y'all try to make that word and turn it into a negative. Y'all did all of that. Try to make everything associated with the word black negative, and everything associated with, you know, a black chocolate cake is devil's food cake, and the white cake is angel's food cake. Y'all did this, you know what I'm saying? Now you want to say, well, you know, ain't no black or white. Okay. Light comes from darkness. It's a vibrational frequency. There is no creation until there's movement. There is no creation without movement. Let there be light, or what they call fiat lux, or in the Hindu religion is the Om, the first sound of the universe. They call it the Om principle. Isn't that right? Where the Vedic guy? Start teaching them about the Om principle in the chat. It's called the Ohm principle. Is that you think the Father Jesus, well, first of all, Jesus is not a father, he's a son. So you lying already, so I can't even talk to you because you're trying to make Jesus and God into the same person. So you a heathen, so you calling Jesus the Father. You calling the Son of God the Father. So I can't do that. You know, where'd you get that from? That Jesus is the Father. Where'd you get that from? Where'd you get that from? I know the Om is the first sound of the universe created. All them stories have them. In Islam, it's kun fayakun, be and exist. The fiat lux. Everybody got the same thing, man, is what I'm trying to tell you. Do some comparative religious study so you can take yourself to the next level. You'll go to the next level, I'm trying to tell you. Do some comparative religious study. I reached on my left and picked up a brand new pair of David Beckham's. Haha. Man, I swear use of good energy is bringing me gifts. Appeared some use of glasses. Hey, y'all got the same thing. I know you looking at me like this dude, this hood dude over here teaching. I've been doing this 30 years. I've been doing this a long time. Long time. A long enough time to be able to perceive that everybody's talking about the same shit. And they look stupid arguing. There's only one power. There's not two powers, only one. There's only one power. You can call them whatever you want, style it however you want, but that one power has laws. And we all here to study them. And that's what they do in all the orders on the planet. Whether it's the Illuminati, whether it's the Brotherhood of Light, whether it's Skull and Bones, whether it's the Rosicrucian Temple, whether it's the Thule Society, whether it's the Theosophical Society with Helena Blavatsky, whether it's the Masonic Lodge. Y'all learning the same thing, bro. Y'all teaching the same thing. Everybody's teaching the same thing. Just they teaching the principles and they have their own methodology of teaching it. Because you got a different culture, you got different languages, you got different things like that. So it's going to be expressed in different ways, but it's still the same thing. You're going to give different labels to things, but you're talking about the same thing. And I can only truly appreciate you as an adept or a high level. You claim you've been in a temple when you're able to perceive that. But if you can't perceive that, I can't say that you've elevated in any kind of way. You're stuck in your school of thought. Just my thinking. You're trying to achieve God at the speed of mind. The finite cannot circumscribe the infinite. You can't contemplate God. You can't contemplate God in his pure essence because you are limited. Because if I asked you to create a color that doesn't exist, you couldn't do it. You can only think in terms of what you've experienced. So you're a finite creature. So that's your limitation. Anything you can conceive and believe you can achieve. Your limitation is your imagination and your conceptualization. So you're trying to conceive none of the most prominent people who've ever walked the earth have attempted to really try to describe God. They can only describe nature because nature is the evidence of God. But God is unknowable. At his core, he's unknowable and undefinable. So, I mean, yeah, we know that. That's basic. I'm just saying, that's basic. These are basic things that you have to you got to know these things because you have to go through these schools because before you get to a chance where you can start really using your power, you got to have the right framework in place. And that's what the schools of thoughts do for you. They give you a correct framework to operate in. Once you get the framework, you don't even really need the school of thought no more. You can really go off. Like Doctor Strange is a good movie to watch. Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is an excellent movie. I've been reading Doctor Strange comic books ever since I was 5 or 6 years old. I've been interested in this subject since then. The Vedic school that I was a part of was more about devotion and achieving the supreme through devotional service, not through the gathering of knowledge. Okay. Well, man, that might be your path, but all I can say to that is this, that everybody's on the pathway back to God. I know they teach y'all that too. Everybody's going. You touch that breathing in and breathing out. Creation out, and then it's been withdrawing back in. All the creation is like that. Everybody's on their pathway back to God. You're going to eventually get back there anyway. Going to reemerge yourself and lose your individuality and reemerge yourself back into the absolute. I mean, some people like to teach to reach nirvana through what you're talking about, through self-denial. I don't walk that path. I believe in getting everything that I want, going the pathway of abundance and proving to myself that I can exercise my power, because I can help the most people. You can help a lot of people by getting wealthy. But there are two pathways to nirvana. Are you familiar with the monad? Well, you're talking about the monad and the gonad. Are you talking about the law of correspondence? I don't know in what sense you're talking about. I think you're talking about the law of correspondence. As above, so below. He said, when and where did they start using black to identify race and skin complexion? I don't really care. Let me tell you something. We were on that We're Not Black back in the 90s. That's how long. I don't really care about that. The people who engage in that, they usually broke. Because they can't manifest anything. So y'all always want to trumpet about we not black. I don't care. I don't care if they want to identify me as black or anything, whatever in the public. I know who I am, and that's in the public, and I don't care. I don't care about that. What's important is self-perfection. I'm walking that road and understanding what power you got. I don't care what somebody calling me black or white. I don't care. That is not important to me. I went through that little school, where we not black. I went through we not black school in the 90s. I went to that, you know what I'm saying? Standing on the street corner, passing out books, telling people who they really are. I did all of that already, okay? I did that. You just in that school right now, and it's a good school to be in. It's a good school to be in. It is, because you need some racial pride. I believe in racial pride, especially for our people, because we are downtrodden people, and we do have some sort of issues with self, which is most evident in the way that our women wear their hair. The more conscious that you become, the more adverse you should be to women who have wigs, all that fake hair and fake eyelashes on, and put all them tattoos all over their body. Just saying, that's what I would be concentrated on. Why are our women still putting other races of people's hair on their head? If an alien were to come to this planet right now and park on the outskirts of the planet and say, let's examine these human beings, and they're looking down, they're like, some funny things going on. These humans over here are cutting off their hair, and they send it, and you know what? It ain't even cutting off hair. You know that a lot of this fake hair made of plastic. They show the process. I had a video. All that real expensive hair is not. It's synthetic. What they call synthetic. That's plastic. They took some plastic and just melted it down, and they got this thing they run it through and make it real stringy, and it be the hair, and they call it the synthetic hair. So if you got somebody over here in India. I mean, you got aliens on the spaceship. They look and they say, look at the humans over here. They cutting off their hair. And these humans over here are taking it and putting it on their head. Think about some ants. If some ants took something from the termites and put it on their back because they're trying to look like a termite. And it's like, is that not the evidence of, like some type of mental issue? Because when women were wearing afros, we looked at our women still just as beautiful as all. I remember the afro stage in the 60s when all black women and black men, we all had the same hairstyle. Everybody, the women had fros and the men had fros. And the fro, our hair grows up toward the sun. Everything on the planet grows toward the sun. Our hair can process electricity. We have hair unlike any other race on the planet. We are truly unique. But you are ashamed of it. That's an issue. That's what you need to be working on. You're ashamed of it. Some of you women don't even know what you look like. You don't even know what your natural face look like. You haven't seen your natural self in over 20 years. You don't even know what you really look like. And it ain't even really the women, it's the men. Let me tell you something. I'm going to get off the women for a second. Let me get off these women. Let me get on these men for a second. These simp beta male manginas. Shout out to Dr. BOA. Listen. First of all, I have to question something about you as a man if you find all of these extras that women put on. Like, you really find BBLs attractive? Do you really? Do you really? I'm just want to know, as a man, do you find something attractive about a woman altering her body, you know, in an artificial way like that? Do you really find that attractive? Because if you do, I have to. Now, here's the thing. This is what I understand. I know some of y'all grew up. See, like me, I've been 6'2", almost 6. I'm 6'2.5". All right. I've been this tall ever since I was in high school. We go back and look at my old high school pictures. I'm a tall dude. All right. So, and I was very handsome. So I grew up always getting women. So there's never been a time in my life where I've never had that attraction from women. I'm getting older now and things like that. But when I was younger, it was just a normal thing for me to always have a woman or a woman in my space or somebody looking at me as attractive. Now, if you're a man and you didn't grow up like that, you know, because some men, you were maybe short when you were younger, maybe you weren't that attractive and you had to maybe get some money or do some things like that to have attraction. I can understand why you have the thought processes that you have, you know, and that you will accept anything coming from a woman because you're so desperate to have one. But my message and what I'm trying to say is that we as men, we are the leaders of our community. We have to, if we want to alter the trajectory of our race, it is up to us to do it. They are not going to do it. You already see when you have a conversation with them, you can't even rationalize and reason with them. I'm all on the TikToks. I listen to all them conversations y'all having on TikTok and everything. You're not even really supposed to even be talking to them. You're supposed to be in a group of men deciding what action we are going to take, and then we execute it. We don't even need to be discussing nothing on what we're going to do with them. We just need to go do it and build wherever we're going to build and do it, and then tell them what we're going to accept and what we're not going to accept. And if they say they don't care about it, let them die on their own. Fine. Behead. But see, that's what the old communities used to do. The old communities, if your woman got a divorce and there wasn't another man nowhere that was going to accept her. So she knew she better not get a divorce. But they understand they can have 3 or 4 kids and divorce and land on their feet because there is a simp waiting to catch them. No, at issue is she should have never got a divorce in the first place. You stay with the father of your children. And then they're going to bring up abuse. That's always the next thing out of their mouth. You got to get some clarification on that because they overuse that word. They can't even use that in court because they've overused it so much the judges don't even acknowledge it. They don't even acknowledge it. I mean, he's abusive. Where are your police report? Where's your evidence? They start going in on them. You ever call the police? You ever did this? They just call you abusive. Abusive is when you try to restrain whore culture. That's abusive in the modern time. When you try to put restraints on whore culture, you are being abusive. You trying to put restraints on, I don't like that shit. I would like to hear your, okay, well, here is spelled H-E-A-R. I would like to hear your voice on that with the knowledge and wisdom you have. I don't know. They both lead outside. What? In my house, my wife has 2 options. Door number 1 and door number 2. Abuse or infidelity. Yeah, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and they all look alike. They all after the same exact look. They want to look exactly the same, and then they call it a baddie. And that's why I don't understand. It's like, it's like, I don't be understanding how they think sometimes, but it's not them. It is the simps and the beta males and the desperate cats that'll take all you have to do is go over to Instagram, look at it, be liking the pictures. Let me tell y'all something, man. You gonna like that picture, she gonna run to a nigga like me and give the ass to. All right? All you niggas liking them pictures and shit, she ain't studying you. She wants the man that's not giving her no attention. You know why the dude is not giving no attention? Because he busy on his goal. He not expending energy on them because he's busy doing, that's what they find attractive. Not the nigga that's all brown nosing them and shit like that. They attracted to the strong man that's building something, that's following his purpose. As soon as you give a woman attention, your ass is conquered. That's why she leave you. Just like you have to have sex with a woman and then you move on to the next, they conquer your ass when they get your attention because they don't need you to touch them to get your energy. They get masculine energy. They don't need direct contact. They get masculine energy just from the attention you give them. That's why that's why it's a drug to them. Attention is a drug to females. That shit is like adrenochrome. That shit is like, social media showed that. It showed like this is they fucking drug. Attention. You feed it to them all the time. You already gave them what they want. Why would they give you a piece of ass and shit? I don't know. Why you ain't learned this game yet? In India, they marry virgins. Why don't you talk about in my Vedic guy in the chat, why don't you talk about the science of virginity then? I want to see what science you're going to drop on the women about virginity. Because, over there, they marrying virgins, right? Right? Isn't that y'all law? Y'all had the lowest divorce rate in the world, ain't it? It's like 1 or 2%, ain't it? I don't know. I could be wrong. Am I right? My question is, with your knowledge and wisdom you have, what's your opinion on black, Negro, or color, the original American? I don't have an opinion on it. Listen, man, we were taught all of that. I was in an organization called Nubian Nation of Moors, okay? We know all of that. I'm not interested in that. I'm trying to build the country. I'm trying to build my people up. The only thing we can come together collectively on is money. Y'all ain't gonna come together on nothing else but money. So all that shit right there, y'all been talking about it for 30 years. You got the Moorish Science Temple of America, been around almost 100 years. You got the Nation of Islam, been teaching it for about 100 years. You got the 5%ers. You had the Nubian Nation, they still kind of around. You had the Hebrew Israelites. You have the Sarset community. I don't know if they're still around. But you had a lot of black, I was in Atlanta. In the 90s, Atlanta was a mecca for black consciousness. And you know what? That was everybody was saying, we not black, Negro, African, and all of that. I understand it. You expect me to keep saying that shit for 30 years? So what? You change what you call yourself. Now what? You call yourself a Moor. All right, good. Now what? That's supposed to magically, because you start changing yourself, calling yourself by a different name, is that supposed to magically change your condition? Is that the implication by your question, is that because you refer to yourself as something is the reason why you're experiencing a certain type of life and outward manifestation? Is that what the inference I'm supposed to get from you constantly talking about what is my opinion on black, Negro, African? This is all I'm asking. That's the question. All right, what's behind it? Is this supposed to fundamentally change your condition in some kind of way when you start referencing yourself as something? And if so, give me the science of it. Give me the science of it. Appreciate the $4.99. You talking that truth, Yusuf. Everything is mental, and the reason people don't have what they want is because how they think. That's it. But see, that's the trick they put on them. They got them looking everywhere but inside. I remember when I was at Moore, I went to a talk at Morehouse in the 90s, And one of the leaders of the Nation of Islam there, that brother that got killed, the dark one, his dark-skinned brother, he was fired too. But man, he gave such a beautiful speech because he was talking about the search is an inward search and not an outward search. That was what his speech was about. And I always remember that speech because it was a very beautiful speech on the journey is inward. This is why in Luke 17:21 in the Bible, it says, seek ye neither here nor there, but the kingdom of heaven is in you. Now, you're going to have some versions try to change it and say it's amongst you. That's a devil. What is it? It's either in you or amongst you. Which one is right? And who is the devil that changed it? Because we know that it had to be changed. Because one is talking about look in, and one is telling you to look out. Somebody's lying. Which version of the Bible is a lie? Somebody wants you to keep looking outside yourself. The Oracle of Delphi, know thyself and to thyself be true. Everybody got their way of saying it. They all saying the same thing. Like Yoda in Star Wars, he called it the Force. Listen to his description of the Force. George Lucas, he's very educated in this space. The Death Star ain't nothing but Nibiru, a planet destroyer. Come on, man. I wouldn't be able to give you the science of it via text message if you have a verbal conversation. Oh, okay, well, make a video. Give me the science of that. Because you're talking about a space that I'm well acquainted with for the last 30 years. And for the last 30 years, y'all been saying the same thing with no fundamental change in your condition. And the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. And that principle is the principle of cause and effect. And just in case you're wondering, I can break it down to the science of why I'm not listening to you. Because you ain't did shit. Can that be argued? I don't think nobody can argue that. Yeah, Khalid Muhammad. Thank you, brother. I went to a speech. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. It was Khalid Muhammad. I went to a speech. He gave a speech at Morehouse in the 90s. When I first got to Atlanta, my aunt took me up to Morehouse. She would give me a tour around the city. And she got tickets to hear him speak at Morehouse, and it was a great speech, man. That brother, he was fired too. He was like on a Louis Farrakhan, Malcolm X type level too. He was a beast too. They had to get rid of him though, because he was militant. He was militant, but he was a fire brother. He was a fire orator. He had fire he was a good orator, definitely. That's one thing I like about the Nation of Islam is they have good orators. They birth a lot of people who fire with that mic. They fire with that mic. You know, I give them their props, you know. We know each other. Joe from Los Angeles. Oh, yeah? Okay. Hell no, I saw the C-SPAN back then. Are you still doing consultations? Yes, I am. Oh, you sent a cash app? He sent a cash app. What's name on the cash app? I got my cash app right here. I'm going to look right now. You say you sent a cash app. Because you're not, you know the instructions right there on my consultation page say don't send any money till we confirm the appointment. I have a secretary. She confirms the appointment. So I got my cash app right here. What'd you send it on? Let me know what you sent it on. I'm looking at it right now, my cash app. Let me see, anybody saying, oh, okay. Tell me your name. Somebody did send something. Yep, that's you. You did send it. I got it right here. I'll tell you what, you want to do it today? You want to do it today? We can do it today if you want to. Just put a time in there and I get, what time? It's 4:20 right now. I'll do let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow at about, let's say about 11 o'clock. Oh, you give me a time tomorrow. I ain't gonna have time today. But give me a time tomorrow. I got you right here. I'm looking at you right here. So I got you. You say anytime right here. Okay, you said anytime. Okay, you said anytime on Wednesday. I think you put anytime Wednesday. Okay. All right. Well, Wednesday's tomorrow. You said anytime Wednesday, and Wednesday's tomorrow. So I got you. I got you. All right.
Let's see. I'll say hello in the call tonight, but I won't disrupt. Oh yeah, speak to me tonight in class. Yeah, speak to me, man. You have to. How is class? Tell everybody how class is. And is class great? I think our classes are great, man. I think our classes are like, man. I think every day everybody is in their seats on time. You know, I get at 9 o'clock. You just see everybody, all the seats loading up at 9 o'clock. Then you got your early students that come early, but 9 o'clock, boy, everybody's loading in at 9 o'clock. It's a good feeling, though. I like to see that happen, you know. And it's just, I always make sure that I, have something nicely prepared. Like, you know, earlier when I saw the case, I usually take a lot of time and being selective with a case. And it's going to be on a particular part of trust. Like, are we going to talk about trust corpus? Are we going to talk about self-dealing? Are we going to talk about termination of a trust? Are we going to talk about sham trust? Are we going to talk about taxation of a trust? I wanted to get in, I was going to talk about taxation of a trust tonight, but I want to talk about the trust protector because that question came up in the last class, and I think we do need to explore when a trust protector is necessary or in what capacities trust protectors can serve. Let me give all of y'all a bit of information. Let's say I want y'all to all go watch the movie The Gladiator, that old movie with my man, whatever his name is, you know, where Marcus Aurelius, you know, in the very beginning of the movie is what you got to watch. The dialogue that's happening there is trust dialogue. And he's even going to say it. In the beginning, after his campaign, and they get through crushing the savages, okay, Marcus Aurelius, who is the emperor at the time, he's going to call Maximus, his general, to his tent. And they're going to have a discussion. And he's going to say, let's talk, Maximus, as men do. Tell me about yourself. And he's going to start talking about his wife, his family, how he want to go back home and all of that. And then he said, okay, I want you to be the protector of Rome. And he said, well, I'm not a politician. He said, you don't have to be, you're a good man. That's all he wanted him for. That was the skill he had. And he said, I want you to be the protector of Rome. To put it together, you got to go to the next scene when he has a discussion with his son in his tent to give him the bad news right before his son kills him. He said, you will not be the emperor of Rome. He said, I'm putting my powers in trust. I'm going to return Rome to a republic. What he is saying is that his imperial powers is going to put in trust. The trustees are the senators. But the senators can be a den of vipers. So you need the trust protector is the one that can get rid of trustees. And that is who Maximus is. He's the protector of Rome. He's the protector of Rome because he's the one that can remove people in power. And that's what a trust protector does. Trust law, I'm doing a history of trust right now. It goes all the way back to Rome. The principles of equity did not get systemized until the 17th to the 18th century. To that system of equity, but it developed over about, it started in Rome, but it started developing in England from about, early 1300s all the way to the 1700s over a period of time. But trust law is a very interesting subject. It goes back, way back in history, way back in history. It says, as long as people stop interrupting you and you raise the hand method. I know, you know what? I ain't going to open the mic tonight until it's over with. I'm going to do the whole presentation, not open up the mic. I know, people do be interrupting. But, you know, I feel like if I allow them to engage the conversation, sometimes I feel it's necessary, but sometimes, you know, we do get off track a little bit. And sometimes we get in them sidebar discussions sometimes. Roasted. Me too is good. Peace to the gods. Yes. Shout out to Yusuf. I appreciate that. Look, Lord, I got to go now. Yeah, it's 4:25. I got to get off the mic now. I got to go handle some business. But it was good. Sign up for SBC University. All right? Come to class. You know, we there. Monday through Thursday, we have class. Well, Sunday through Thursday, we have classes at 9 o'clock, from 9 to 11. I promise you, if you come to class,
It's going to be an experience like you never had before. You're going to learn a great deal. You're going to learn a lot of things that, you know, that you didn't even think about. And then you're going to develop an appreciation, you know, for trust law, you know, because, you know, oh, I now understand how these equitable principles work. I understand how they work now. Wow. And then when you get understanding and you get clarity, that creates interest. Because now you truly understand. And that's what a good teacher does. A good teacher doesn't indoctrinate you. A good teacher brings you to a state of realization, because all knowledge is already inside of you. It just needs to be brought out. You just need to get in contact with it. You've been listening to the hottest radio network on the planet, High Frequency Radio. My name is Yusuf Vale. I'll see y'all on the next broadcast, man. I got to get out of here, all right? Peace to the gods and goddesses. I'm out. Peace. I'm out.